A stroke doesn't come with a warning. It doesn't knock on the door or leave a note. It strikes suddenly, and from that moment, a person has only a few hours to remain themselves. In medicine, there is a simple phrase: time is brain. Every minute of delay costs thousands of neurons, and with them, parts of memory, speech, and movement. In Kazakhstan, around 40,000 strokes are recorded each year. It may sound just like a number, but behind it are real lives, disrupted routines, and families learning to start over. In Astana, stroke care follows a strict protocol: a call to 103, transport to a specialized center, and urgent diagnostics. All of this must happen within the golden hour. This is where the fight begins, not just for life, but for its quality.
The key priority is to ensure that patients are brought to us within 20 minutes of symptom onset. That's critical. This requirement is clearly defined in all our protocols and guidelines, as we operate within the so-called golden hour. In stroke care, there is a well-known principle: time is brain. The faster we respond, the sooner we can begin treatment. Upon arrival, the patient undergoes an immediate CT scan of the brain.
Computed tomography is the first line of defense, but until recently, once the scans were obtained, another equally complex stage began: analysis. Doctors would gather, discuss, debate, compare findings, and time would slip away, sometimes too much time. Today, that process is being transformed by technology, one that never tires and never hesitates. The Cerebra system analyzes CT scans in a matter of minutes. It doesn't treat patients or make the final diagnosis, but it provides guidance: where the lesion is, how extensive it is, and how urgently action is needed. This is not just about speeding up the workflow, it is changing the very logic of decision-making. And in this new reality, the doctor remains unquestionably in charge. But now, they have an ally.
We've been working with the Cerebra system since November 2025. Let me give you an example. A patient born in 1951 was admitted to the emergency department with numbness in the right arm and leg, as well as speech impairment. Within the golden hour, a CT scan of the brain was performed, and the results were uploaded to the Cerebra systems within just 2 or 3 minutes. We were able to administer thrombolytic therapy in time, and as a result, all stroke symptoms, the numbness and speech impairment, completely resolved within 24 hours.
Every medical technology begins with doubt. In 2018, a team in Almaty set out not to change the world overnight, but to help doctors analyze medical images faster. The company started with several areas: pulmonology, ophthalmology, and radiology. It was an effort to find the right direction, to understand where the need was greatest and where the technology could have the most impact. It soon became clear that the issue wasn't a lack of data, but the speed at which it could be interpreted. Gradually, this led to the idea of a system that could analyze CT scans and guide doctors on where to focus. But to teach a machine to see, it first has to be shown the world. Thousands, even tens of thousands of images. Doctors train the system, showing it what is normal and what signals concern. Over time, the algorithm begins to recognize patterns. It no longer simply compares images, it starts to remember key features. And that's when a new capability emerges: machine attention. Over time, the system begins to recognize characteristic patterns of change in brain tissue. When a new scan is uploaded, the algorithm automatically analyzes the images and identifies similar features. If it detects suspicious abnormalities, it automatically provides relevant information. Systems like this are trained on large volumes of anonymized medical images. A key challenge is data quality. The data must be carefully annotated by doctors and experts. This is a labor-intensive process, with specialists manually marking pathological changes on each scan. It is through this work that the neural network gradually learns to recognize signs of disease. But the technology itself is only part of the challenge. The real difficulty lies in bringing it into clinical practice, integrating it with existing medical systems, adapting workflows, and working closely with doctors. What matters most is that the technology genuinely supports the physician and fits naturally into their work.
Важно, что технология действительно помогала врачу и органично вписывалась в его работу.
In medicine, speed rarely aligns with accuracy. The faster the decision, the higher the risk of error. But in stroke care, delay can be more dangerous than any inaccuracy. Until recently, the path from CT scan to decision-making followed an almost ritual process. The images were opened on a workstation and the doctor examined them slice by slice, searching for subtle changes in tissue density. Colleagues would then join in. Discussion, recalculation, doubt, and time was ticking away. Today, that process takes minutes. After a CT scan is performed, the images are automatically uploaded to the Cerebra system. The algorithm immediately begins its analysis, identifying the type of stroke, ischemic or hemorrhagic, highlighting suspicious areas, and calculating lesion volume. On the physician's screen, key areas are highlighted, as if traced in red, drawing attention to critical findings.
После того, как пациент поступил,
Once the patient is admitted, we perform a CT scan of the brain in the CT room. The scans are then automatically uploaded to a web-based system accessible on the radiologist's workstations here in the doctor's room. From there, we can review them immediately. As you can see, the system highlights areas that require attention, clearly marked in red on both sides across different modes. This is how it appears in cases of ischemic stroke. Here's another example, 2 different cases. You can see how the system instantly identifies key areas. This, for instance, is a hemorrhagic stroke, and it clearly outlines the affected regions. If we look here on the right, you can see 3 slices. The system also calculates lesion volume, meaning doctors no longer need to measure each slice manually. It's done automatically. Based on this, we can quickly assess the situation, for example, whether surgical intervention is needed and what the potential risks might be. Once the imaging is complete and a stroke is confirmed, we involve a multidisciplinary team: neurologists, radiologists, and neurosurgeons. Together, we determine the most appropriate treatment strategy.
и дальше уже решаем о тактике лечения.
The automated assessment using the aspect score is particularly valuable. Previously, physicians had to evaluate each region of the brain manually. Now, the system performs this assessment autonomously in seconds, providing guidance for choosing the treatment strategy. Operating in multiple levels simultaneously, the system ensures that results are accessible not only in the radiologist's office, but also in physicians' mobile devices. A neurologist can review scans while being in different unit. A neurosurgeon can also participate in the analysis remotely without even approaching a workstation. Doctors are no longer tied to a specific location, as decisions can be made wherever the data is accessible. Meanwhile, for the patient, the battle to preserve neurons continues.
У нас есть у каждого доктора приложение.
Every doctor has an app that enables access to the program from anywhere. For example, although our unit is located on the 6th floor, that doesn't matter. We can just as easily use the system from an emergency room. The app is installed for everyone. After entering a personal PIN code, a list of patients becomes available. From there, we can open any of the scans. The system automatically calculates the aspect score, while also allowing us to review the scans in detail, checking for the presence or absence of lesions and examining various incisions. Thus, we can already make a preliminary assessment of whether a patient is experiencing a stroke. Based on this evaluation, we then proceed with further actions and treatment in accordance with established protocols.
Начинаем работу и лечение.
Just 10 years ago, the idea of artificial intelligence in medicine seemed entirely foreign. Technologies came from abroad, bundled with equipment, protocols, and licenses. Today, the landscape is shifting. Kazakhstan is confidently joining the ranks of countries where medical AI is not only being adopted but also actively developed. Projects like Cerebra are being implemented at the intersection of clinical practice, engineering, and government support. Of course, global counterparts already exist. Major corporations such as Google as well as Western startups are also training neural networks to detect strokes and tumors. Yet, there is a crucial aspect. Medical algorithms are highly sensitive to the data they are trained on. Artificial intelligence learns from the scans it receives, and every country has its own unique characteristics such as population age, disease patterns, and even the types of equipment used in hospitals. Therefore, a foreign algorithm may produce inaccuracies while a domestically developed solution delivers more precise results. This is the key value of initiatives like Cerebra, technology tailored to the needs of our patients.
Благодаря этой программе у нас сократилось время. Они называют диагностический анализ, диагностический
The program has allowed us to save valuable time. This is called diagnostic analysis. Previously, for example, after performing a brain CT scan, we would have to return to the doctor's room to hold consultations with doctors and radiologists, a time-consuming process. They had to calculate the aspects score and, in cases of hemorrhage, review multiple incisions to measure the bleeding. Now, the process is much simpler. Within minutes, we receive results, including the volume of a hemorrhage. Afterward, we determine a clear treatment strategy, as it is crucial to save neurons in the stroke-affected area, particularly the penumbra.
Потому что нам очень важно спасти те нейроны, которые, возможно, есть зона.
Our goal is to preserve this zone so the lesion remains small. The neurological deficit is minimized, and we can start timely treatment and early rehabilitation. Ultimately, this ensures patients can return to their daily lives as quickly as possible.
Начать лечение, начать раннюю реабилитацию, чтобы пациент быстрее вернулся к своей жизни.
Healthcare in Kazakhstan is steadily undergoing digital transformation. Hospitals are transitioning to digital imaging archives, cloud-based solutions are emerging, and access to data is becoming more streamlined. All of this lays the essential groundwork without which artificial intelligence simply cannot function. Interest in these technologies is growing, with new teams, startups, and research initiatives emerging in the country. Today, Cerebra helps detect strokes more quickly. In the future, similar systems will operate differently, not only identifying what has already occurred, but also providing warnings. This is no longer just a diagnosis, it is a prediction. Globally, this approach is already becoming central. Technology giants such as Google and IBM Watson Health are working with vast volumes of data, striving to predict disease development long before the first symptoms appear. While these systems are not yet perfect, the direction of future medicine is already firmly set.
Да, это абсолютно нормально.
This is absolutely fine. In medicine, every technology must prove its effectiveness. So trust is built gradually through hands-on experience in real clinical settings. Once doctors see that a system truly helps, detecting strokes faster and speeding up the team's workflow, their attitude becomes much more positive.
У команды отношение становится гораздо более позитивным.
Конечно, однозначно.
Of course, artificial intelligence is essential. In a world that never stands still, we must keep pace with rapid advancements. Medicine is evolving at a high level, and above all, artificial intelligence is a powerful time-saving aid. We have to keep pace with the times. For the most part, artificial intelligence serves as an auxiliary tool that we should skillfully use to reduce errors and complications. As physicians in the stroke unit, our primary goal is to help patients get back on their feet as soon as possible.
For centuries, medicine has primarily reacted to disease, but now it is beginning to anticipate it. This changes everything: the physician's role, patient behavior, and the very economics of healthcare. Yet despite all the technological advances on the horizon, one thing remains unchanged. Decisions are still made by humans. Algorithms can suggest, accelerate, and alert, but they do not carry responsibility, experience doubts, or perceive the patient in front of them. They operate on data. Doctors operate on life. It is this delicate balance that may define the future of medicine, not a struggle between humans and machines, but their productive collaboration. And as ever, time, the most precious resource, remains at stake.